The games of the 11th Olympiad in 1936 were surrounded by controversy from the start. In 1931, the IOC selected Berlin to host the games over Barcelona. Despite some skepticism, this was essentially to show the world that Germany was once again a part of the world sports community after World War I. The controversy surrounding Germany began with the rise to power of Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party in 1933. The Nazis believed in Aryan superiority and persecuted groups that they felt were inferior, and in particular Jews. Jewish athletes were not afforded the same rights as other Germans, as they were excluded from German clubs and associations. The exclusion of Jewish athletes and their overall mistreatment worried many countries. Boycott movements arose in many countries, most notably the United States, led by Jeremiah Mahoney. He stated there is no room for discrimination on grounds of race, color, or creed in the Olympics, vowing that continued discrimination would lead to no American team at the 1936 Olympics. On the other side of the boycott was AOC President Avery Brundage, who believed that politics had no place in sport and that a boycott might not be necessary. The Nazis invited Brundage to Germany to see the conditions and treatment of German Jews and gain his support. Brundage was impressed with what he saw, despite only getting to meet with Jewish athletes in the presence of Nazi officials. The Nazis' attempt to wine and dine Brundage was a great success, as he returned claiming that conditions in Germany were fine and that the Olympics were for athletes, not politicians. He contended that the show must go on. In December 1935, the AAU voted to participate in the 36 Olympics by a very narrow margin, setting the stage for the Nazi Olympics and Hitler's propaganda machine.
The Winter Games of 1936 were held in the market town of Bavaria, Germany. The games were relatively uneventful with the exception of a few key points. Alpine skiing made its first appearance as the combination of the downhill and the slalom. Great Britain upset Canada in ice hockey, and Sonja Henie won her third consecutive gold medal in figure skating. 1936 was the first time female athletes were allowed to compete in events outside of figure skating. Journalists reported troop maneuvers at these events, and due to the Nazi regime, had to minimize military presence for the Summer Games. 1936 was the last of the Olympic Games in which both the Summer and Winter Games were going to be held in the same country. Days after the completion of the 1936 Winter Games, the German military occupied the Rhineland. This was a violation of the post-World War Treaty of Versailles. Although chaos stirred, the International Olympic Committee and the majority of spectators ignored the occurrence taking place in the Rhineland because everyone was on a patriotic high and didn't want to ruin the mood of the Games. After winning the bid to host the Games, Adolf Hitler ordered construction of the Berlin Olympic Stadium to begin in 1934. When it was finished, it acquired nearly 400 acres. The capacity to be held was 110,000 spectators. The bell tower consisted of the dates of the Games, 2 swastikas, and the motto, "I call the youth of the world." The opening ceremony was held at the Berlin Olympic Stadium. Adolf Hitler declared the Games open, and the first ever torch relay took place to illustrate the torch run from Olympia to the host city. 25,000 pigeons clouded the sky and cannons were fired. Writer Thomas Wolfe said it was almost a religious event, everyone begging for Hitler.
The 1936 Summer Olympics was composed of 129 events in 25 different disciplines. The newest edition of these games was basketball, but this new event was outshined by Jesse Owens' performance in the men's 100-meter dash. Jesse Owens completely stunned the world in the 10.3 seconds that it took to complete the 100-meter race. Germany was exceptionally amazed with Jesse Owens' performance, which seemed rather odd considering their views about non-Aryan performers. Originally, they did not want to allow Jewish athletes to compete, but due to boycotting, Germany was required to add Jewish members onto their Olympic team. Due to quota requirements, half-Jewish Helene Mayer was one of the lucky few to be able to participate in the Olympics. She won a silver medal for her performance in fencing. However, fully Jewish and highly qualified, Gretel Bringman was not quite as lucky. Even though she met the previous world record, she received a letter that she was not qualified enough to compete. In the end, once all the medals were placed around the necks of the champions, the final count was on the side of the home country. Germany had 89 medals consisting of 33 gold, 26 silver, and 30 bronze. The USA was in second place and had 56 medals consisting of 24 gold, 20 silver, and 12 bronze.
Coubertin's final public remarks were that these grandiose games, organized with Hitlerian strength and discipline, had magnificently served the Olympic ideal. Persecution of Jews continued, and 2 days after the Games, Captain Wolfgang Fernster, head of the Olympic Village, killed himself when he was dismissed from military service because of Jewish ancestry. At the end of the 36 Games, most journalists' accounts agreed with Frederick Burchell's report in the New York Times that the Games put Germany back in the fold of nations and even made them more human again. Only a few reporters, such as William Sherwood, regarded the Berlin glitter as hiding a racist, militaristic agenda. In 1938, Leni Riefenstahl directed Olympia, a documentary that captured the most favorable Olympic moments. Olympia was financed by Germany's Prime Minister of Propaganda, Joseph Goebbels, but Riefenstahl always insisted that the film was privately financed. Olympia contained 2 parts, Part 1, Festival of the Nations, and Part 2, Festival of the Beauty. In the spring of 1937, Hitler proclaimed to Albert Speer, General Architectural Inspector for the Reich. In 1940, the Olympic Games would take place in Tokyo, but thereafter, they would take place in Germany for all time to come in this stadium. The pause in Germany's anti-Semitic campaign was brief. William E. Dodd, the U.S. ambassador to Germany, reported that Jews awaited with fear and trembling the end of the truce.